Good jazz. Oh, it's a little bit slippery. Today we're in the Lake District and we're going to hit the Altura Trail. The trail is split into two loops, north and south, and both begin at Whinlatter Forest Visitor Centre. We're going to ride the south loop first, which is a red grade trail, but it does include an optional black grade descent. Afterwards we'll hit the north loop for another climb and another amazing descent. Just before we do that, Meant for Descent is a channel for people who love mountain biking, so if you're new here, please consider subscribing. If you do, please also click the bell icon and you'll be amongst the first to know about new Meant for Descent content. And with that out of the way, let's jump right in. The highest point of the south loop is a little over 500 metres above sea level, putting the elevation we gained during our ascent from Whinlatter Pass at roughly 200 metres. I'm currently winding my way through Hospital Plantation on the only section of Black Grade Trail that we're going to be riding today. This section was originally part of the Red Grade Trail, from which it's still accessed, but it's since been regraded. I don't usually like to speculate, but if I had to guess, I'd say that it had something to do with the rocky slab that we rode a short way back. There are several sections of exposed stone up here, as you would expect in the lakes, and it offers very little grip in the wet. The more technical parts, such as the slab I mentioned and a handful of rocky off-camber bends, can be quite treacherous in wet conditions. The mountainous landscape around me now, as beautiful as it is, directly affects the climate, helping to create what is called relief rainfall. This happens when air moves in from the Irish Sea onto the land and is forced up over the fells. As the air rises, the moisture that it carries cools and condenses and eventually falls as rain. And if there's one thing that the Lake District has in spades, it's rain. Today's outlook, however, is pretty good. The temperatures are in the low 20s and the forecast is dry. Despite this, there are still sections of the trail that are yet to dry out. In case you didn't know, those little beeps are the sound of disappointment. A reminder that I should have changed the battery in my GoPro before beginning this descent. Still, it's easily fixed. Jazz. Up until this point, it's fair to say that I thought things were going quite well. Oh, it's a little bit slippy. Alright. Like, okay. Lever still attached. I think we're alright. So let's go slow on the wet bits. Oh yeah. That was definitely very slippy. Oh, I think the levers are out of whack. We'll sort that later. Oh. As a result of that tumble, my front brake lever shifted around the handlebars by a few degrees and my stem is a little off centre too. But they're both quick fixes and I'll put them right at the end of this section.
Jump off now and see what happens.
Loaded with crocodiles. This section is called More Adrenaline Please. Truthfully, it's single track like this that I enjoy riding the most. You can just let the trail take you. There's no need to snatch the brakes ahead of every bend, just settle in and go with the flow. What's not to like? The views entering this section are amazing, the understated berms are enough to let you carry the speed that you need, and the jumps are just big enough to deliver sporadic bursts of excitement. Entering the forest, the character of the trail changes. I can't see quite as far ahead now, and the ubiquitous trees mean that it's now even more important that I don't stray from the rolling single track in front of me. The trees pass by with a speed that's almost violent, but it feels as though I'm not moving at all. I feel calm and focused, almost spiritual. From here it's only a short distance back to Whinlatter Pass in the beginning of the North Loop. All three of us have ridden here before, but I was the one who insisted we ride the South Loop first, saving what I thought was the best for last, but it's going to take a lot to beat that descent. Shall we?
Yeah.
Indeed. Can't stand around here practicing telepathy all day. The north loop takes us back up to around 500 metres, but this time to Tar Barrel Moss on the opposite side of the pass. Having made it to the top of one tough climb already today, this one seems even harder. In reality, it's probably no harder at all, but I do think it's a more entertaining climb. Parts of it feel more technical and even a little more adventurous, and there seems to be more variety too. Whilst this may not look like a particularly dark section on camera, the dense canopy blocks a lot of the sun's light. The reality is that it's much darker here than it looks. I'm filming with a GoPro Hero 7 Black, which is well known for its outstanding ability to stabilise shaky video. Ordinarily, it does an amazing job, but amongst these trees, even it struggles to keep the picture smooth. This is our final descent of the day, and it begins with Grandad's Wheel. The trail starts within the shadow of the forest, but it's not long before it breaks free from the trees and carries you out into the sunlight, far above Whinlatter Pass. arrived here this morning, I thought I had it figured out. I was certain that this descent was the better of the two, but now I'm not sure. It's an amazing trail, don't get me wrong. Who wouldn't love this? I think that I've just come to understand that it's not a case of good and better. There aren't any opposing forces here. They're one and the same, like two brothers or two sisters who stand side by side and raise each other up. They're not here to compete with one another. They're here to make each other better, and that's exactly what they do. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you do, and you click the bell icon, you'll be amongst the first to know about new Meant for Descent content. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.